August 18th, 2025, and it's your good friend, it's your pal, it's your compadre, it's TC, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to Rock This Town Live. We are here every Monday through Friday, tonight at the normal time, but tomorrow and moving forward, that will be 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 Central, and 3 Pacific, which is a different time. I get that. Actually, that was going to be the original time of the show when I first started. Then I'm like, I changed that at the last minute. But in the end, I'm changing it back to when I first started it. I want to do the show a little earlier in the day. So I'm going to do it at 3 p.m. Pacific time. That is 6 out on the East Coast, 5 if you're in the Central time zone. So just a little programming note there. What's going on the big show today? Well, I always love reliving the past, and I've got a hell of a past to relive in 1991 at Donington. It is fantastic. We'll talk a little David Lee Roth, a little Iron Maiden, Mr. Bungle, even Pink Floyd. And then also I'll have kind of my top 5 when it comes to artists that left their successful bands and actually continue to have a successful career. So there you go. And then I've got a something new today, and it is a throwdown, basically. It is the Battle of August 18th, indeed. August 18th. I'll tell you all about that in a second. The clue is Kid Rock and Bon Jovi. You can probably figure it out. But 2 iconic records. So I'm basically telling you everything now. 2 iconic records that were released on the same day, some number of years ago today. Like I said, I always like reliving the past. It starts with this handbill. If you're watching the podcast on YouTube, or if you're watching the show on YouTube or on Facebook, you can obviously see it. If you're listening in your car or at home or wherever via the podcast, Spotify, iTunes, etc., then boom, this handbill is for the Monsters of Rock Festival in 1991 at the Donington Racetrack in Donington. Well, I don't know if Donington's in Donington, but it's probably close to Donington, or maybe that's just the name of the racetrack. It happened Saturday, August 17th, 1991. Now, of note, August 12th of 1991 is when Metallica's Black Album came out. So Metallica's Black Album had only been out 5 days. Obviously, this was on a Saturday, so you can figure that back then, I don't remember back in the day, in the 80s, maybe the 70s, the 80s, even the 90s, when albums came out, they always came out on Tuesdays. And yeah, such was the case there. So the Black Album had just come out that past Tuesday, and then they're on the bill headlining AC/DC. Of course, AC/DC, kind of famous for their Donington show at the Monsters of Rock. That's one of those videos that we see, I guess, all the time back in the days of music, television, and I'm sure you can find it on the internet, stuff like that. And then, of course, they're famous for their River Plate, which I think happened in 2006 or 2009, somewhere around that time frame, where they did AC/DC live at River Plate. So anyways, this is AC/DC headlining. Metallica, surprisingly, though maybe they were just a much bigger band in England than they were in the United States, because I mean, Metallica obviously had their first 4 out records that had been out. The Black Album had just been released, but Motley Crue obviously coming off of Dr. Feelgood, so you got to figure that Metallica was probably a little bit bigger band in Europe than Motley Crue ever was. So Metallica got the second billing, not too shabby. Motley Crue third billing. I got to say, so far, AC/DC, Metallica, and Motley Crue as your first 3, damn. And then we get to Queensryche. This is the Empire Tour. Oh my God, what a fucking lineup this is! I love it. This is fantastic. And then not to crap on the 5th band by any means, because I love the Black Crowes, but the Black Crowes, number 5, still, that's pretty good. They're a great live band, so they obviously set the bar that day. I went and saw Van Halen on the Monsters of Rock tour, quote unquote, when it did the U.S. tour in '88, and Metallica was on the bill, Dokken, Scorpions, and then Kingdom Come along with Van Halen. Would I have rather have seen this show? In hindsight, yes, because I've never seen AC/DC. I have seen Metallica once, and that was unfortunately on the Monsters of Rock tour that Van Halen did in '88. I've seen Motley Crue one time, and I've seen Queensryche only one time. I've never seen the Black Crowes, and I hear they're a great live band. So, anyways, tickets $22.50 as far as pounds go. So maybe what, $25, $26 US. So that's a hell of a monster bill. And that might be the greatest Monsters of Rock at Donington / now download of all time, in my humble opinion. Right? Cool. Hey, Beat After Beat hanging out with us. Good to see you, Beat After Beat at Armageddon. Very nice. David Lee Roth. How about David Lee Roth? I got to start the news with a little David Lee Roth. So David Lee Roth was mocking Sammy Hagar this past weekend over the Eddie Van Halen ghost claim. Now, if you didn't hear about this, Sammy Hagar says that Eddie Van Halen came to him as a ghost and told him to write a song. And so he got up the next morning or whatever, wrote a song, and he credits Eddie for partially writing the song. Sammy, the tequila must have been flowing that previous night. Anyway, so David Lee Roth, I was willing to make fun of Sammy Hagar in some ways. Went after Sammy. Let me read you a little bit about what Roth said on stage in Hampton Beach, New Hampshire, this past weekend. So he says, one of my esteemed colleagues, he's a contemporary. He's got a great voice. He's got a great catalog. You all know Sammy Hagar, right? He's got a great voice, and Sammy he described to the media about 6 weeks ago that the ghost of Eddie Van Halen visited him and graced him with a song that he memorized and then went home and recorded it. It's on the internet, Dave said. Then he continued. He said, because Dave's got to be Dave, of course. I don't know what the odds are, but last night the ghost of Eddie Van Halen visited me in my hotel room. I was watching the weather report, and he came in and he was laughing. His ghost was laughing. I said, "What do you do now?" Dave said, and then Eddie said, "Dave, actually, you want me to do his accent?" Oh, so he's like doing the Eddie accent. He's like, "Dave, you know what I gave that song to Hagar? It's actually Inagata Davida backwards. Don't tell him." This is all Dave recounting his experience with Eddie's ghost. This all stays in the room, right? I laughed. We shared a ghost cigarette, a ghost Marlboro. He says not one of those white ones, but an actual Marlboro Red. So they were going old school. And he says he hugged my brother Ed and said, "Man, I do miss you." And he said, "I miss you too, Dave." And then he said, "But you know what? You should still go to hell." And I said, "Save me a seat." So yeah, the song that Sammy was referring to when he wrote that song, or the song that Dave was referring to, was Encore, Thank You, Good Night. That was inspired by Eddie Van Halen's ghost, according to Sammy. So I don't know. That was kind of death. So I'm going to move on really quickly. Very nice. Let's move on to Iron Maiden at the Sphere in Vegas. So Bruce Dickinson says he has no interest, and Iron Maiden has no interest in playing the Sphere in Las Vegas. Now, of course, Metallica are rumored. One of the things that I've been talking about when it comes to the Sphere in Vegas, it's a really cool venue, but it's a really tiny stage. And as Bruce Dickinson mentions here, he says, we do a lot of stuff. We run around, we go around, and at the Sphere, what's the point? Exactly. I kind of see that. If you're a band that just kind of stands there, like shoegaze rock and roll or something, but if you got some energy, even if you're in your 60s, like Maiden's got, it's just like, what's the point? The visuals are cool, the sound is cool, but on this really tiny stage, I just don't see it. If Metallica does end up going into the Sphere, it would be cool. That's kind of the first hard rock / metal band to do it. But I don't know. I hope they make the stage bigger, because that stage for like U2 was tiny. I'm like, what's the point of this? I don't know. So I'm on board with Bruce Dickinson. I don't think I think we're gonna see kind of like bands that maybe are old and decrepit playing there. Say like I don't know, Fish. Fish isn't that old though, were they? No, they're not that old. The Backstreet Boys, all they got to do is sing and dance, baby. So I don't know. What's your opinion on that? If you got one, let me know. Mr. Bungle, of course, this was the band with Mike Patton, formerly of Faith No More. Actually, Faith No More and Mr. Bungle are two bands I've never really gotten into. I know we sold a hell of a lot of copies of Faith No More. One of our local favorites, Jeff, he loved himself some Faith No More. Never would buy it though, because he's, I don't know, crazy in the head. I don't know. I don't know what was going on there, man. Something's afoot at the Circle K, and it was that damn Circle K. By the way, Circle Ks are like, I digress. Dave Lombardo and Scott Ian say they want Mr. Bungle to record a new record. He says they're trying. Maybe it's Mike Patton putting up a wall, maybe not. The other two guys in the band as well. So I don't know. It is what it is. I mean, so if you're a big Mike Patton fan or a Mr. Bungle fan, perhaps there will be a new Mr. Bungle record at some point in the future. But at the moment, no. So I saw this story and I thought it was kind of interesting. The stuntman who did actually the cover, this isn't like Photoshopped in the days of Photoshop, in 1975, which would be 50 years ago. Holy moly. Apparently, the stuntman who did the stunt for that, lighting his hair and his suit on fire, has passed away at the age of 88. So I guess he would have been 38 at the time of the stunt. Using a suit and wig soaked in flame retardant, Ronnie Rondell Jr. is the guy there on the right, was set on fire 15 different times to make sure they got the perfect photograph. 15 times, I guess. How'd you like to be the guy shaking his hand every time, though? I guess maybe they probably got... since this looks like a bunch of sound stages in Los Angeles or probably in London, I'm guessing that the guy on the left has a bunch of fans behind him. So the fire is blowing, obviously, in the opposite direction because nobody wants to get lit on fire, right? That would not be good. Not be good at all. So there you go. Cool. Yeah. Hey, Paula, good to see you. Thanks for hanging out. That Monsters of Rock flyer was super cool, beat after beat. Talked about that to start the show. And yeah, I agree 100% beat after beat. Bruce Dickinson needs to run around and wave that flag. James actually was at the U2 at the Sphere, and he says it was great for U2. The stage came out some ways from the background, and it was essentially 3 front rows on the floor. So there's that. It just seems tiny because the Sphere is so big, right? Exactly. Very nice. All right, cool. What else is going on? Oh, some vinyl release announcements today I wanted to mention. So I really dig this record. I know it doesn't fall kind of in the rock or metal world at all, but I think this is a great 80s pop record. Naked Eyes, self-titled, is getting reissued, a limited blue color vinyl, and it's been remastered. And it's got a second disc with a bunch of demos on it and some alternative single releases, which are always hard to find sometimes when it comes to kind of not really the dance mixes, but just the single mixes and stuff. So $41, a little pricey, comes out October 10th, but I think that is a great record from Naked Eyes. You Make Me, Promises, Promises. I love that song. And then, of course, was it Dusty Springfield? I forget. There was always something there to remind me, a song that they covered, which is a pretty good record. Now, this record, I don't know that much about it, other than apparently they're like alternate punk Hare Krishna rock. Apparently, the 30th anniversary of the Shelter record on white vinyl, limited to only 1,000, is coming out if you're into Hare Krishna rock. Now, I can speak of Hare Krishna rock a little bit because I was watching Airplane the other day. And, when they're going through the airport and, the Christians are offering flowers or whatever to the Hare Krishnas. So whatever happened to Hare Krishnas? Do they still exist? I don't even know. I don't know. It's like quicksand. Back in the 70s and 80s, everybody was afraid of quicksand. Whatever happened to quicksand? I've never run into quicksand. Nobody's ever run into quicksand. I don't know what it is. Anyways, this comes out September 19th for around 35 beans. So there you go. Yeah, Naked Eyes is such a cool band, in my humble opinion. Underrated. Speaking of bands that are cool, this isn't one of them. Let's just face it here. I'm so afraid that this movie is going to be the worst movie of all time. I just fear that greatly. Maybe it won't be. I would argue that Rob Reiner hasn't made a good film in 30 plus years. It's been a long time, unfortunately. Spinal Tap, The End, an album with Big Bottom on it. They're covering themselves. Also, Stonehenge, they're covering. I think they're doing I Kissed a Girl as well, probably the Katy Perry. So I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be terrible. Anyways, if you buy this record, you're probably going to pay around $30 for it. It comes out September 12th. I misspelled September. My apologies there. But in the end, I think while I love Spinal Tap, the original film is fantastic. I just feel that this one's going to be terrible. And this is going to be the kind of record that you bring into a record store in like 2 years to try to sell it. And they're going to give you like 50 cents for it because that's just my prediction. I don't know for sure. I hope it's great because Christopher Guest usually doesn't do crap. We got that going for him now. Harry Shearer and Michael McKean, they've been known to do crap every once in a while. But Christopher Guest usually doesn't. Rob Reiner obviously has the pedigree, especially in the 80s with Spinal Tap, Misery. What else? The Princess Bride, just brilliant films from Meathead himself. So there you go. And the other record I want to mention, yes, there is another alternative cover and different colored vinyl. When I saw this cover, I thought of the little kid that screams, "Okay, bend over." I'm just like, girl, you're 36 years old now. Do you really need to cultivate the Beyonce look at this point? I don't know what to make of this. I'm kind of excited for the record as a music fan because Shellback and Max Martin are apparently back and have produced and engineered the record, and those guys are really good at what they do. However, I don't know. The good news is, if you're worried about it, it's already sold out on her website until it's put back into stock on her website. So, but if you want to get a copy on eBay, even though the record's not out yet, somebody willing to pay you $300 until it's back in stock on her website in like a week or two, or just before the release of the record. So, yeah, there you go. All right, something new tonight. The Battle of August 18th. Traditional, there's been 60 years of records released that are, interesting, potentially. Maybe even 70 years of records, but we'll say 60 years of records going back to, what would that be? That would be 1955. Would that be right? No, that would be 1965. Yeah, 65. Let's start with 1965. So 60 years of quality records released. Two iconic records on the same date. There was a bunch of stuff that came out on this date. Apparently, I saw after the fact, after I'd done this, Permanent Vacation from Aerosmith came out on August 18th in 1987. But this is a good matchup, I feel. Also, Out of the Blue by Debbie Gibson. Come on now. You know what I'm talking about there. And some other classics. But Slippery When Wet versus Devil Without a Cause. Who you got? Who would you, if you were stuck on a desert island and they could drop off one album with the most unbelievable Sansui sound system? I don't know if Sansui actually exists, but I think it was in an episode of WKRP in Cincinnati. So an amazing Hakataki sound system with Sumajumi speakers, and you could set it up on your desert island and you only had one record to listen to. Which one would you pick? Would it be Slippery or would it be Devil Without a Cause? What surprised me about this was that Devil Without a Cause apparently sold 14 million copies. That record was huge. And if you're like doing if you're doing a tail of the tape, I gotta say, as far as like the singles go, like if the singles were round one, You Give Love a Bad Name versus Ba With a Ba. I love You Give Love a Bad Name. The bass line in that is great. The guitar solo is great. It's a very cool title. It's a very great chorus, but I would go Ba With a Ba. I'm sorry. Living on a Prayer versus Cowboy. I dig Cowboy, but you kind of got to go Living on a Prayer. And then the other two singles, Wanted Dead or Alive and Never Say Goodbye. I could do without Never Say Goodbye. I would go with like Let It Rock. Pink Flamingos / Let It Rock or something else from the record. So in the end, in my mind, Slippery When Wet, baby, is the better record. However, that doesn't mean that Devil Without a Cause isn't a fantastic record, because it is. It's great. So they were released, 12 years apart? So that's my pick. Jeff White. Hey, Jeff, good to see you. Says Bon Jovi without it. Well, of course, you have to say, oh, come on, Jeff. You have to say Bon Jovi. Otherwise, you're going to be sleeping in the garage in front of that Rock This Town Records parking sign tonight. So come on. Come on. Paula says Bon Jovi would be the pick as well. And Beat After Beat agrees with Paula. And, of course, Armageddon definitely going Bon Jovi. But Devil Without a Cause, it was a good record. And I love Bob with a Bomb, man. That thing comes on, and that thing, it just hits you like a 2-ton heavy thing, man. That just, boom. Very nice. Beat After Beat, that's right. You're a Michigan guy. So apparently from the same neighborhood as Kid Rock. I don't even know what Kid Rock's real name is. Is it Herman Raybell, or is it Francis Buchholz? Kid Rock's real name. What is Kid Rock's? His real name is Robert James Ritchie, also known as Bobby Shazam. James is picking Bon Jovi, but by a 1-inch wet noodle. 40 whacks with a wet noodle indeed. All right, cool. If you're digging the show, that is Jerry the Dog. Make sure you smash the like button. And if you want to tell a friend about the show. And also, just a programming note, I'm going to start doing this at 6 p.m. Eastern starting tomorrow night. I just feel it's a better time of the day for me. And then, so that would be 3 p.m. if you're on the West Coast, or if you're in Arizona now. So there you go. And if you missed the show, you can always watch it back on YouTube at any time, or on Facebook. And then, of course, there's the podcast as well. So very nice. Tour announcements. Got to say, Stephen Pearcy, Warren DeMartini. His guitar playing is incendiary, baby. It's incendiary. They're back on tour doing some more dates. This weekend they're in, North Dakota. Then they're in Anaheim the following weekend, Washington, Missouri, St. Petersburg. You ever robbed a bank in St. Petersburg? I have not robbed a bank in St. Petersburg, but I'm just curious if you've ever robbed a bank in St. Petersburg. I'd like you to fess up if you did. Anyways, Cancun, Mexico, and then Vegas in November. Very nice. Very, very nice. Also, because Foreigner has an announcement every day, it seems, and we should still buy Foreigner. I want to do a GoFundMe so we can buy the rights to Foreigner from Mick Jones. However, they're doing a 250-person exclusive show on Ellis Island on September 6th. Hey, that's somebody's birthday. Happy birthday, Jenny. Maybe we should go. Mick, I don't know if Mick Jones is going to be there, but Lou Gramm is apparently going to be there. It's going to be part of a documentary. So there you go. Foreigner just keeps getting bigger and bigger every year. This is why we need to jump on it. Jump on it. Jump on it. You know what I'm talking about. Well, see, there you go. So James just admitted he did once rob a bank in St. Petersburg. I knew it. If it was going to be anybody, if it would be you, James. So there you go. Loverboy out on the road. So they had some dates earlier this year, but starting on, let's see, they're in Essex Junction, Vermont, coming up on the 22nd. So that would be this weekend. And then they're Texas, Kentucky, also Utah, Oklahoma, Oklahoma. It's Oklahoma. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Des Plaines, Illinois. All right. Wasn't that where, not Z-Rock, somebody was based out of Des Plaines, Illinois. Z-Rock was based out of Texas, if I remember. Maybe Dallas, Texas. Z-Rock, where America rocks. Dun, 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 dun. I'm always reminded of these old shows that we listened to back in the day. I'm not talking about the King Biscuit Flower Hour either, because that was like old man music to a certain degree. I'm talking about Rockline with Bob Coburn. I'm talking about American Top 40 with Casey Kasem. I'm talking about The Metal Shop with Charlie somebody. I forget his last name. I'm talking about... what was I just talking about? Oh, Z-Rock, where America rocks. And it was like on the AM dial, at least in Minneapolis, St. Paul, when I'd listen to it. It kind of sucked. I mean, as far as listening to rock station on AM, but they would like play all the songs you love. Now I guess we have Sirius XM satellite radio. Anyways, a bunch of dates for Loverboy if you want to go see Mike Reno and company. Modest Mouse. I thought about mentioning this. So I got a friend of mine who loves Modest Mouse. We drove around to LA one night listening to Modest Mouse, looking for some restaurant to go to. Cool guy. I called him Fleishenfield. If you're out there, Fleishenfield, how you doing? But they've got a 2025 tour starting in Colorado, Aspen, Colorado. Isn't that where Dumb and Dumber went? With what were the guys' names in Dumb and Dumber? Dumb and Dumber. I got to find this really quick. Dumb and Dumber. Lloyd Christmas, right? What was the other guy? Oh, yeah, Charlie Kendall. Beat After Beat. Very nice. Beat After Beat also used to have a Z-Rock dog tag. That's so super cool. Lloyd Christmas and Harry Dunn. So there you go. Yeah, speaking of sequels that went nowhere, oof, that was a terrible sequel. Anyways, Modest Mouse, what it's worth. There's some tour dates if you're interested. 2025 tour. So there you go. I forgot to pull a vinyl of the day. Are we already done? Have I made it all the way through the show already? Is that right? Good God, I added a segment called, I forgot my solo artist thing. Okay, so we're up to solo artists. Okay, here we go. So this is usually earlier in the show. So I try to come up with a list of the top artists who left a rock, who in the rock and metal world, who left their bands for successful solo careers. So I was thinking about David Lee Roth, and I wouldn't call David Lee Roth's solo career successful by any means in some ways. I mean, it had its moments, but come on. The guy's out there playing nothing but Van Halen now songs. So King Edward's smiling down and thinking that Dave and Sammy are both nuts with their ghost stories, but whatever. Number 5, I came up with Rob Zombie, White Zombie. Rob Zombie's had a pretty damn career after leaving White Zombie. Of course, you could probably argue that Rob Zombie and White Zombie are kind of synonymous, so it is what it is there. But Stevie Nicks at number 4. Stevie's had a great career, solo career. Left Fleetwood Mac, has gone back to Fleetwood Mac. Left Fleetwood Mac, has gone back to Fleetwood Mac, etc. Ozzy, of course. We just lost Ozzy here on July 22nd, I think it was, leaving Black Sabbath. And those Ozzy records, man, they are the cat's pajamas. They are the Blues Clues of rock and roll. I say that. I didn't call him the Barney of rock and roll. I call him the Blues Clues of rock and roll, which I think is pretty cool. Maybe Dora the Explorer. I guess if anybody, so Ozzy is Blues Clue. Let's see. Stevie Nicks would probably be Dora the Explorer. Eric Clapton. I don't know who Eric Clapton would be. Peter Griffin from Family Guy. Of course, Eric Clapton has had an insanely great career. As I always said on the live show, Eric Clapton always sells, man. He always sold when we were selling those records. And then, of course, can anybody debate all the success that Phil Collins had on his own? Obviously, with Genesis, it was tremendous success, but on his own, man, that guy just owned the 80s pretty much. I mean, Michael Jackson, Madonna, Prince, Hall & Oates, and Phil Collins, man. Boom. Lights out. Blast, 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 in my humble opinion there. And Phil Collins, I guess Rob Zombie would be Barney because that's kind of a little bit purple. And then Phil Collins, if he was a cartoon character, maybe Barney Rubble, I'm thinking. Maybe Barney Rubble, no? George Jetson? I don't know. There you go. Let me see what else is Steve Perry. Yeah. Steve Perry did have a pretty good career, but it was kind of one album, right? It was just Street Talk. Should Have Been Gone. Knowing How I'd Made You Feel. So the Oh Sherry song and then Strung Out was a great song as well. Paul McCartney. That's a good point. That he had a pretty good career, but I don't know. I would say no. I wouldn't put Paul McCartney on that list, man. I'm throwing Paul, and Sandy's going to kill me. She's going to kill me. First she's going to shit, and then she's going to kill me. But yeah, I would not put Paul McCartney. I don't think he's had that great of a solo career. I mean, he's played Beatles songs, But Phil Collins go out there, play his own songs. Clapton can go out there, play his own songs. Ozzy can go out there, play his own songs. Stevie can play her own songs. Who's going to go see Paul McCartney if he's not playing any Beatles songs? Just saying. Same with Steve Perry, I guess, in some way. Sting. But once again, The Dream of Blue Turtle is a good record. But after that, it was just like, I don't think so. I don't want to go see Sting if he ain't doing any Police songs. Robert Plant, same thing. Some good stuff in there. I love In the Mood for a Melody, but I'm not going to go see Robert Plant if he ain't playing Led Zeppelin. And sure as hell we know he doesn't play Led Zeppelin. He's made that abundantly clear. So there you go. Billy Idol, Jeff White says. Okay, that's true. Billy did have a good career, but come on, Generation X, comparing him to Genesis or Cream or Sabbath or Fleetwood Mac. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I'm just giving you guys a hard time. So anyways, I appreciate it. But yeah, that's kind of you're out of your mind. No, I'm not. Paul McCartney. Come on. George Harrison. Okay, I could see George Harrison. I would go see George Harrison. But let me see. Best Paul McCartney songs outside of the Beatles. Let me see if I know any of these songs. Band on the Run. Is that one of his songs? I guess. Live and Let Die. Did he do that or did the Beatles do that? I don't know much about the Beatles. Maybe I'm Amazed. Okay, that's a pretty good song. I'll give you that. Another Day. Jet. Backseat of My Car. What the hell is this crap? Blackbird. I don't know. I don't know any of these songs. I just don't know Paul McCartney songs. So maybe Band on the Run. What is that from? That's from Wings, I guess. So whatever. But yeah, I don't. No, I don't think so. I'm gonna go. That's gonna be a hard pass on the Paul McCartney there. So that ship has sailed. So there you go. All right. I think that's is that it? Do I have anything else? So I forgot my vinyl of the day. But if I did have to pick a vinyl of the day, it sure as hell wouldn't be a Paul McCartney record. I can guarantee you that. It'd probably be Sussudio. I'd hold it up right now. Jen and I probably have Sussudio in our collection. I would hold up Phil Collins' Sussudio record as an example of how great Phil Collins is, or any Eric Clapton record, or any Ozzy record, or any Stevie Nicks record, or any Rob Zombie. But anyway, so I guess I'm not a Beatles fan. No, I like the Beatles. I love George. I like the Beatles as the Beatles. I'm just not as much of a fan, Casey, of Cassie. Sorry, I said Casey last time. So we had a young lady that worked in the store named Casey, and so I want to say Casey, but Cassie. Sorry. I love the Beatles. They're great. I would say that the Beatles are definitely, probably, easily the best band of all time, just because all that time in Germany that they spent honing their craft, man, they were outstanding. But then after, they had their run. And, every band has its run. So there you go. Friendship over, huh? Sorry. I'm not trying to stir the pot. Paul McCartney's good. He's not George Harrison, man. He's not George Harrison. I'm going George, man. George is my Beatle. That is my Beatle of choice. Unless I can count Yoko in there. Can I add in Yoko? Because Yoko, there you go. Anyways, all right. I'm more of a yokel for having this opinion. So there you go. Did I miss anything here? I'm looking at my list here. So my vinyl of the day would be Sussudio if I had it with me, but I don't have it with me. I've just got, I can show you an album cover. But a great, what's on? Let's see. We're just talking about Paul McCartney. Let's compare him to Phil Collins. Phil Collins, Sussudio. Let's do a search for Phil Collins' biggest songs outside of Genesis. Let's see what we get. Oh, come on. Google, you stink. All right. So let's see. Favorite Phil Collins songs. No, that's not. No. This is okay. Here we go. Let's see if this list is pretty good there. All right. So yeah, this is terrible. Google, your search is becoming outdated. I'm going to move to just AI search completely moving forward because this stinks. All right, let me do this. Let me go to AI search. Let me do a quick fast search. And Phil Collins' biggest songs outside of Genesis. In the Air Tonight. Oh, that just beats everything by McCartney. Another Day in Paradise. Pretty good. Against All Odds. That is a tremendous song. That is on the level. Against All Odds is such a good song. It's on the level of George Harrison. That's the biggest compliment I can pay. Sussudio, You Can't Hurry Love. Give me more. Billy's Got My Number. Yes, exactly. Easy Lover with Philip Bailey. Come on. Two Hearts, One More Night, Groovy Kind of Love, I Wish It Would Rain. Give me more. I want more. More songs. All right. What else? Take Me Home, Billy Don't Lose My Number, Separate Lives, Something Happened on the Way to Heaven. Jen would agree with me on that one. And Do You Remember? So there you go. Not too shabby. All right, cool. I appreciate you hanging out with me, putting up with my insanity when it comes to Paul McCartney. And yeah, I think that's it. Did I miss anything? So once again, going back to the beginning of the show, I'm moving the show to 6 p.m. Eastern, starting tomorrow, 5 Central, 3 Pacific. That's also Arizona time. It's going to be a little different, but I think this time is going to actually work out a little better for me. And then, yeah, I think what we learned today is that Taylor Swift should not be dressing as a showgirl, bending over on album covers when she's almost 36 years old. I know Dave Chappelle had a bit about that at one point, but it's a very, very risque bit. So, but if you know the bit, you'll smile. And then we also learned that Iron Maiden should not play the Sphere in Las Vegas because they're better than that. And then we also learned that Naked Eyes is releasing a vinyl. And then we also learned that Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet, was a better album than Devil Without a Cause by Kid Rock. But it was fairly close, right? Exactly. All right. Yes, Jen, you've affected my love for Phil Collins. I do love Phil Collins. I mean, I loved him in the 80s. I loved him in the 90s. I know Phil has been having some health issues. Wish him nothing but the best. Obviously, Paul McCartney has played his final show. Oh, wait, no, he's going on tour again. So that never ends, I suppose. But yeah, my best to Paul McCartney as well. I wish his catalog was as good as Phil Collins's, but it's not. So, you know, he does his best. So there you go. I know a couple ladies that ordered the Taylor, the second one that was released. Jeff White says yes. Oh, Taylor. I think all these artists do that because they want to like show that, it's like if they can say that Taylor sold 1.5 million records its first week, it's like, oh, she set all kinds of records. But come on, in the big scheme of things, nothing compares to what is it, May 26th of next year, I think it is, something like that, May 26th, 2026, Grand Theft Auto 6 will be released. That is going to make like $2 to $4 billion its first weekend. I mean, it's insane the money that Rockstar Games is going to print there when it comes to that game. So nothing compares to that. We can talk about Taylor Swift and the tours and stuff, and they've been great, but no. All right, cool. Everybody have a good night. Thanks, James. Thanks, Paula. Thanks, Beat After Beat. Thank you to Jeff and to Jen as well. And I think was it Santiago that was here a little earlier? I saw his name. Yeah, Santiago. All right. Very nice. Cool. All right. Have yourself a wonderful night.